think we're really happy with where we came out. We accomplished a lot of our goals. We were able to get the guys we targeted. And I think it was very productive for us. So I was proud of our group. Really felt like a condensed amount of time. I mean, as a scouting staff, we do a number of iterations of free agency meetings, but when they added the 17th game, you play that deep. It's hard to get the coaches really on board, with the evaluation process. And our coaches, as you guys know, are very involved with that. But they got it done, and we were in very much alignment with them as to who we wanted to target, what we wanted to do. I mean, some highlights for me. I'm just looking forward to, we did some 2-year deals on the D-line, so we don't have to do this every year. It gets hard. There's a story to tell, and it's very compelling to people, and there's a lot of great stories you can talk about, the Samson Ebukams, the Charles Amenahus, the Kerry Hyders, who've had faith in us and played here for a year and gone on and done well for themselves. And so, but there's a lot of effort in doing that each year. So I think finding some guys we really liked, starting with Floyd. Leonard, just an excellent football player who we've admired for a long time. We've competed against him. He's been very consistent. He's just like 10 sacks every year. Love the way he competes. Loved him coming out of Georgia. Played against him in Chicago, the Rams obviously. Watched him in Buffalo. Competes at a real high level. Really physical player. Really good at all facets of the game, and I think just gives us a very consistent guy on the opposite of Bosa that can make people pay when they have to give all the attention to Nick. He's also very durable. He plays a ton, and love the way he chases, and he just plays with great effort, and so it's a guy we've admired for a long time. So be able to land him was great. Yetur, told his agent, I thought he handled it like a house in Los Altos. You kind of priced it low and got the whole league interested, and then everybody, so it was, and Yetur was the guy probably of all of them that we signed that we had the most people in the league say, man, we were in on him, and a lot of the guys after we landed him. And I think Yetur, the interesting thing, he's a long, skilled athlete, and he's a guy, I think we've been at our best when we've had one of those guys, Arden Key, Charles Amenahu, that can play outside and then slide down and go to the inside. It just gives you another layer of versatility to your D-line. And so Yetur, we're really excited about that. And, there's going to be some transition for him. He's played a lot in a 2-point stance, and so putting his hand in the ground and rushing. Obviously, he's done that on 3rd down in Carolina, but he's really looking forward to that opportunity. So, the linebacker, Devondre, that was a blessing because things fell through with Kendricks, and it was kind of like, well, we thought we had that, and 2 or 3 guys go, and so you're like, man, we got an issue here, and Green Bay happened to release Devondre, and he's a guy we really, really have always respected and liked. I think in pass coverage. He's an excellent player, has played the run effectively. Kyle was at Atlanta when Devondre was there, so knew him from practicing against him in practice. And way back when he was a rookie, I believe, they were together. And Devondre just had a very productive career. So that was a blessing that he became available for us, and we pounced on that. So Yidam, can't have enough good corners. And I thought he had a career year. Isaac and I kind of shared I just asked him, what clicked? Because he's been a very good, productive special teams player. It's never really happened for him on defense as consistently as it did last year. And, he talked about something familiar to me in my career because I didn't become a full-time starter until year 3. Kind of just a mindset. Stop doubting yourself and let's go. And he was able to find that last year and have that belief, and it really flourished. So, our guys did a great job of identifying him. We became really intrigued with bringing him into our building, and like I said, you just can't have enough guys there. So great competition at the outside corner spot. Great special teams player. You throw him in there in the mix with Ambry, with Luter, with Sammy Womack's in there, and let those guys all go compete. And we obviously have Mooney and Diamador, who we all know what they can do. So like the addition of that. Who am I missing, guys? Help me out here.
Collins.
Malik, obviously that trade to you know, once you know, we parted ways with Eric, you know, which we'll talk about later, real tough thing to do. We had a void there. And so to be able to come to that agreement for a 7th round pick, a guy who really fits what we do, and it's not a projection. He just played in our system last year with D'Amico and them, and played at a high level. He's a guy I've studied and admired for a long time because Rod Marinelli, who I'm close with, coached him in Dallas and drafted him, and Rod thinks the world of him. Chris obviously has a great voice on anything we do there, and we just like the fit with us, and plays with tremendous effort, quickness, disruptive. Had a really good year last year, so you know, excited to land Malik, and then you know, Chase Lucas, and yeah, Chase Lucas is a special teams player who can play some nickel as well, and you know, excited to add him to the mix. Ezekiel, I told him I always noticed him when we played him because he gave us fits, and because his number, it's a nice number, and and told him he's going to have to earn that with us, and but no, he's been a good player. He really has, a special teams player, and guys did a great job of keeping in touch with his representatives, and adding another good special teams player to the mix is really critical. So with Chase and Ezekiel, we add that, and those guys can play good defense in a pinch as well.
Why was hiring Brandon Staley such a priority for you? Like, obviously he's not the coordinator and he doesn't have a background with the wide 9, but it seems like you really wanted him. Like, is he going to be helping draw pressures, game plans? Like, what's he going to do?
You know, Grant, I think really what we wanted to do was get back to who we are as a defense, like our style of defense, and that you know, Nick Sorensen had a great vision for how we could do that. But you also want to consistently evolve, much like we did early with the wide 9s. You know, we brought this system in, and then Kyle, you know, said, man, the wide 9s used to give me fits when I play against it. So, you know, that's a challenge. Can you implement this and still keep the integrity of our defense? And we were able to do it. And I give Robert Saleh and that entire staff, it was a big step bringing Chris Kasarik in to do that. So I think Brandon gives us an ability to just continuing to add layers to who we are and what we do without compromising the integrity of who we are. Brandon's a really intelligent guy. You know, we scrimmaged against him a couple of years ago, and Kyle and I just spent a lot of time talking and appreciating his mind for the game. He's well regarded throughout our league. You know, and having a guy with the head coach mindset, like even in the free agent meetings, the personnel side of it, he's real sharp there. You know, respectful, kind of being quiet until asked, and then, you know, has some great takes and opinions. So I think it's a great add for us, and that defensive staff is really meshing extremely well, and excited for where that's going to go. Now we got to go do it and put it all together. But I think Brandon was a nice add for our building.
I don't think we asked you about this at Combine, but Mooney had an off-season surgery. What is the timeline there? Is there concern for missing time?
You know, I think it's one of those that if it were in season, probably would be, but you take the time. It's that core muscle deal, and probably be a training camp guy. You know, he's already moving. He's doing great. He's been around, and he's doing well with that. So Kittle's on the same plan. Kittle had a core muscle procedure as well, and would be a training camp guy. And you know, those guys that I've had that surgery myself when I was playing, and it's pretty high success rate of healing, and it feels a lot better once you get it done, because it hurts constantly having that core tugging at you. So those guys both got that fixed.
When you say training camp guy, you mean they'll be back in training camp?
Yeah,
Okay.
back in training camp. Yeah.
Where do you think?
And that's a conservative time. Like, we could rush that, but why in off season? So they'll be moving and things, but I'm talking full action. That's the expected timetable.
Where do you think stand at safety, both with Talanoa's recovery and also, I know you've had a couple guys coming on visits. Would you still like to add there?
You know, that remains to be seen. You know, Talanoa's doing really well. That's the great news. You know, he's rehabbing extremely well, beating the timeline. Everybody does, but Talanoa's a worker, and he's doing a great job. We're incredibly high Jair and his prospects for becoming a player, at that position that we can really trust, and a playmaker as well. So those guys, we feel good about it. Now, do you continue to add? We have George Odom. Gip is a guy that we've always kept in touch with, and we'll continue to. And do we want to add? We'll see. We kind of feel like we're wrapping up free agency, but there may be one or two more moves. We'll see. We brought some guys in that we like their game. We're still out there. The safety market kind of took a beating. I feel bad for those guys. It took years to get the guys to where they were being compensated, and a bunch of them, got cut. And I think that's why some really good players were out there, and you'd be foolish not to take a look, and so that's what we did.
Does that, you're still doing that, none of those guys have signed yet, are they? So
Yeah.
you can, is this
Still there,
more
so.
of a kind of check back after the draft kind of thing?
We'll see. Like we're gonna spend some more time discussing that, whether we make an ad or just go with what we have right now. We feel good about the position.
So has Gibb said that he wants to return and play this next year, or is that kind of just up in the air right now?
I think Gip, we love Gip. I think Gip loves our place. So, I won't speak for him, but we've had good discussions, and whether that, we'll see. I think he's at that stage where it's a year-to-year thing. I know that he's still playing at a high level, so we like that. I haven't seen drop off on him, and he's a great guy to have in the room. Great leader, great part of who we are.
Can you discuss or elaborate on the Eric Armstead decision?
Yeah, tough one. We've rewarded we've been fortunate to draft and acquire and a lot of really talented players, and we've rewarded a lot of them. And so, some realities come to bear that you can't keep everybody, and so you have to make some tough judgments. And we worked with Eric, and really appreciative of he and his family, and representative of trying to work something out, and a restructured contract. Took a couple different whacks at different ideas, and ultimately he wanted to go see what his value, and good for him because it was robust. I mean, you saw what he got in Jacksonville, and so he bet on himself, and good for Eric. But we just made a decision, and part of it was that he had missed some games. That happens, but at his number, we had to adjust it, and we made that trade for Malik, and so we wish Eric nothing but the best. Those are tough decisions. Eric's done so much for our team. He's such a fabric of who we are as a team, what the work he does in the community, the opportunity for him to be up on that 10-year wall, like that was important to me. That was important to our organization. It was important to Eric, but ultimately, like I said, he chose to bet on himself, and I think he made a good call because his market was there, and I'm happy for Eric, for Mindy, for their family, and we'll always be grateful for everything he's given us.
Did you try to trade him before that?
There was some talks of something with Houston, but we weren't going to put Eric in anything that he didn't want to, and that was subject to them being able to work out a deal. And so we were going to do kind of Eric's wishes once we were going to execute his wishes, provided it worked with us, and so that's what that was.
Because you wouldn't have gained the salary cap relief had you traded it, right?
That's correct, but we, there was a potential deal in place, and I don't want to speak with that, but that's how it went down.
Okay. What about Dre Greenlaw? What's his timetable?
Yeah, the Achilles take a while, so probably looking. Dre will tell you he's going to be back week 1, I think. And I don't put anything past Dre, but we have to be smart. Maybe a PUP situation, and so I think that Devondre gives us the opportunity of a guy who plays the way we play, a guy who's got a ton of experience that can fill in for Dre if he's not there, and then we have 3 really accomplished guys who've played at a high level, obviously, once Dre is back. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Have you been involved in trade discussions with regarding Aiyuk and kind of?
No, those are I know.
The Pittsburgh radio guys.
I know. I'm sorry to disappoint him. I was just with Mike Tomlin and at the Michigan Pro Day, and Mike coached me, and so we're very close. And he's like, "Bro, what's going on?" Like I promise you, we got nothing. And nothing's going on there. We're actively talking with Brandon, trying to figure something out, and I always talk, we have a good history of working with the guys we want to get done to get something done, and it takes two sides. So can we do that? We'll see. There's a number of different directions, that it could go, but we appreciate the heck out of Brandon and who he is as a player, and we want him to be a part of the Niners, and so we're going to work towards making that a reality.
So
When
you
you look at,
Would you guys be okay with him playing on the 5th-year option?
Yeah, that's one of the options, but I think
Would you be okay?
we'll see. You got to ask him that.
You're negotiating a deal right now, or just talking?
We're talking with his guys,
Okay.
and trying to talk about some parameters of some things, and I'm not going to get into, never do, but we're having discussions. That's a good thing.
when you talk about a guy like Brandon, do you think about, like, you have a nucleus of guys here now that have been around for a while that are maybe getting a little bit older, of like who your next nucleus of guys are going to be? Like, do you think in terms of that with a guy like Brandon? Is that part of the process?
I mean, there's nothing better than drafting a guy, developing a guy, watching him flourish, and then rewarding him. That's really what we'd love to do, and so he's a great illustration of that. And there's been a lot. You guys have watched it transpire. Brandon came in a really good player, but Kyle has a high standard for receivers. We all do, and so it wasn't just like instant. Okay, but because they're pushed and demanded so much, he's a great example of what can happen when you mix that ability, talent, drive with real high expectations. And he's become a tremendous player, and he's earned everything that's going to come his way, and we're really, really proud of him for that.
And even when you think about, like, if we want Brock as our guy for a real long time, you want to make sure you have a guy that he's comfortable with too. I assume that has to be a factor.
I want them all. I really do. There's rules that and we push the limits, and thankful to our ownership for allowing us to be aggressive, but I think also thoughtful on how we construct things and giving ourselves room. But there's no doubt that because we've been aggressive so much, that there's some realities that we're gonna be faced with moving forward. You just can't have everybody. So Brandon is somebody we'd love to keep around.
And from your understanding, is he wants to stay, from what you've been understanding before?
Yeah, whether we can reach an agreement and all that, we'll see. So
John,
Last week, the
try-
NFL announced some sanctions on you
Yeah.
guys.
yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, so I think first of all, I've got tremendous respect for our league, for our commissioner. I think he's doing a great job. Roger and I have a great relationship. Larry Farazani, who runs the Management Council and CEC, and I serve on that committee, so I'm real fond of Larry. Those are some of the good people in our league that do great work. I have a difference of opinion on the severity of the discipline. We take accountability for what happened. And I think they'd be fine. They know that. We've had these discussions, the severity, what have we. Overpaid a player. I'm not going to get into who the player was. By $75,000. It was a clerical error. This was back in the COVID era, and there was a new system in place, and so it happened. We own our part. We've gone through a whole mitigation deal to remedy some of the issues that happened. But that the league decided to impose that. So you take your medicine and you move on, and we'll be good. And you hate to see a 5th round pick next year. 5th round's been pretty good to us, and a little adjustment to our 4th round. So, but that's what the league decided to impose, and so we accept it and we move forward.
Is there any sort of appeals process or anything, or is it just go right back to the same people that
It was kind of a negotiated settlement that at some point, it's like you could appeal, but we just decided to end it. Yeah.
Did the player keep the money? Did it count against the-
Would you?
2 years later.
And Did it count on your cap?
Yeah, and you know, part of the issue, without getting in the weeds, you know, we tried to recoup it as opposed to reporting it, and so that's where our culpability was, and so we've learned from that, and you know, we eventually did report it, but we kind of went down the road of trying to recoup it. And, yeah, the player did what you think he'd do.
As you noted, you know, great success extending your guys.
Yeah.
And all that, but those extensions have, you know, have varying degrees of difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
You both wanted to trade, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Does it sound like maybe this Aiyuk thing could not be easy?
Well, I hope it is. I don't think they're ever easy. I don't think anything that's worth it is ever easy. You know, I think you have to work, and I'm all for players. Like, you know, it's, as I said, I just told the story of a guy we drafted, and I've watched him grow, and I really, Brandon's special to me personally. He's special to Kyle. He's a special part of our team. He's just, you know, we use that word warrior for him. That's who he is, and he's also incredibly, his movement, and he's got a real cool package that he brings to the table, and his competitiveness. So there's so many reasons we want him to be around, and you know, we're gonna strive to make that happen. And will it be difficult? I'm sure it will be, but you know, we've done a good job of that. And yeah, there's, you know, are there some trials in those things? Sometimes there are, but you know, ultimately that's all forgotten when you get something done, and I hope that's the case here.
John, we're more than 20 minutes in this. We haven't asked you about quarterbacks. And other than not being asked about quarterbacks by people like me at this time of year, has having some stability at that position changed the day-to-day of what this offseason has looked like for you? And if so, in what ways?
I mean, we wanted to, you know, we got Brandon Allen re-signed. We're kind of waiting on Darnold, because Darnold had interest if a starting opportunity didn't present itself and coming back, you know, at some point. And good for Sam. I'm really proud of Sam. He came in for a year, was tremendous. You know, I'm in there early, and Sam was always one of the first guys in, and really embraced the opportunity to learn. So Sam did a great job. Really excited for him and his opportunity in Minnesota. But then we went about, okay, let's get Brandon done, and then, you know, we kind of gathered and said, you know, let's go get one more option for competition at that number 2. And Dobbs is the guy we settled on, and had some competition for him, but we're able to get him done, and we're excited about that. So, but you're right, you know, having stability there, it is nice. I was at the Michigan Pro Day the other day, and you know, I was talking with J.J. McCarthy before, but just to be able to talk and really not be, of course you're interested in the way he threw the ball. I'd be, you know, like, wow, you couldn't help but notice this guy's a really talented player. But I was talking to him, he went to my mom's high school, you know, and so, which was an all-girls school, so I had some fun with him over that. And but we're from the same area and all that, but to have that belief in Brock, to have that stability, and then have 2 backups that we like, that we're going to let compete for that number 2. And seems like the trend right now, everyone's keeping 3, and that's a change for us, but it's nice to have that stability as well in your building, that you have 3 options. And so it is very nice to be able to focus on the other you know, parts of your roster.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but you brought it up twice. So since you did go to the Michigan Pro Day the other day, he brought it up 2 times. I wasn't going to say a word, but he has brought it up twice. He wants to be asked about it, clearly.
Can't help yourself.
He brought it up twice.
49ers.
But when,
It's called bang for the buck, you know. If I had this urge. We've been going through free agency. Really have had productive our formal draft meetings haven't started, but really been good. We've been going hard on the draft stuff, and I just felt the urge. I want to get out, and I thought about going to SC, and Tariq Ahmad said, JL, if we're going to go, we should go to Michigan. There's 18 guys, you know, that are likely to get drafted, and you really see when you were there, and they're all quality players, they're all quality people. It was really impressive what they built there. So there you go.
thank you. I'm going to go. You guys have a great rest
What
of
was
your
cool
time.
when I was there, I ran into, had no idea they were going to be there. Moody and our kicker and Ronnie Bell were both there supporting their teammates. So that was
How
cool.
hard is it going to be, just looking at big picture? The roster seems very good and crowded now.
Yeah.
If you have 10 picks, how hard is it going to be to draft to maximize chances of making the team this year?
You know, I think we're looking forward to that many picks. I mean, being back in the first round again, albeit at the end of it, that's an exciting thing for us. I love the draft process. It's really exciting. I like, you know, free agency's fun, but free agency's crazy, and it's just, it kind of seems frenetic, and you know, you always devise a plan, but it's very fluid. I just like the process of the draft and the way we do it, and it continually, the longer we're together, I think it improves each year. So excited at the opportunity of adding that many players now. Do you take them all? Do you move around? You know, that's always subject to you know, what we choose to do on that weekend. But to have that many picks, we want to make them all count and make them work for us. And you know, we've talked a lot about extensions and things. And the more you do, I think it's really important that a big chunk of your roster is young and the youth. And infusing some of that into our team, whether it's immediately helping or into the future. So we're excited about the process, and can't wait till right after Easter, Tuesday. Our draft meetings will start, and we'll get going with the coaches, that part of it, and it's really our R&D staff. It's a cool process.
You mentioned being back in the first round. How different is it, and how much have you felt in any way not having those first round picks, other than just not making a pick on that night in terms of the way the roster has been built out over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I just think the higher you are in the draft, the better players you're gonna get to look at. I mean, I think this is a deep draft at certain positions, especially. So, you know, be it first round, second round, I just think, you know, you're likely to get a bigger pool of quality players at the top end, and so that's nice to be back there. And it's just kind of boring sitting there every year watching everybody pick when you're just kind of doing this. And so we're excited to be back in there.
Before free agency, you extended Colton McKivitz.
Yeah.
What do you see from Colton in his first year as a starter? Why do you see him as, you know, a guy who's part of your future?
Yeah, I think Colton's a really good player, you know, and I think that I know there's seemingly a lot of views on, you know, what he didn't do. I focus on, I thought he played really well, and I thought, you know, it was hard to let Mike McGlinchey walk, but I thought Colton filled in well in both the run game and the pass game, and you know, you want to extend those guys, and we were able to do it on a shorter term deal, but keep them around for 2 more years. That's a good thing for us, and excited for Colton.
Behind George, you
That's
have
what it is.
Braden and Cameron. How are they doing, not only recovery wise, but looking forward? Because George, you know, the style of play he has.
Yeah, George is George, and you know, I mentioned the issue he's going, but that's not a major thing. He did a great job staying healthy and playing at a high level. We drafted those 2 young men last year, and I thought they did a really good job. Latu unfortunately got hurt, and so missed the majority of the year, but Braden really seized that opportunity, and I think he's going to be a good player. He helped us a lot on the special teams, but then you know, played meaningful snaps, you know, at the end of the season, and I think he's got a chance to be a good player for us. And losing Charlie Warner is a tough thing, because Charlie was a really good, kind of, I think, one of the more unsung players on our roster, and you know, that was tough. And you know, like I said, you can't keep them all. We tried, it didn't work out. So I wish Charlie well. He's a great contributor to us as a tight end, and on the special team side of things. So Falcons got themselves a good player.
And Cameron's recovery.
Cameron's doing well. Yeah, he's doing well. He's you know, he should be ready for the off-season program, and you know, ready to go with them.
How helpful was the use check renegotiation to get you guys under the cap right there at that deadline?
Kyle was tremendous to work with. You know, that's one of the first things we did when we got here was signing Kyle in our first free agency. Been such a good player for us, I love watching the way we use him and the way the multiple roles that he can play. And he's, he's been at the top of that market for a long time. And, we asked him to make a little adjustment. He worked with us, and it's great. He's actually here.
Yeah.
He's here. I was giving him a hard time. He's here as his wife's guest. Kristen, with all her success, and they had her speak to the what they call the playmakers, the wives, and all that. And he's such a good guy, and he's so good to Kristen, so proud of her. So kind of cool to see that. But we did give him a hard time about him being the +1.